What up, everyone? It's your man, Xman87 here, bringing you another... I don't even know what I'm bringing you. I don't want to say a random review because this is really not a review. It's more looking back. Yeah, let's just say that. We're taking a look back at the Marvel Legends FKA Holocaust, now Nemesis Build-A-Figure. And after the weekend, taking the time to let it sink in, the reveals, I still think that the Nemesis Build-A-Figure was the best figure revealed. Even though Spider-Man Unlimited is the one I want the most, that's like a top 5 Spider-Man for me. But top to bottom, I mean, the Nemesis Baf is the best looking figure that was revealed. That thing is awesome, and that Baf got me hyped. And I even went back to read the modern comics. Now, in my recap video, I didn't get into the comics, but you know, I will say, I did mention that that was a more modern version, alright? That's a modern version of the AOA during that X-Force run. That was a 616. This is the 295. So that 616 counterpart compared to this. Technically, Marvel is not counting them as the same because there's this huge age gap. I'm not gonna get into, like, you know, the comics. I don't have time for that. But it's just weird just because there's so many paralleled Earths with counterparts that have big age gaps. So yeah, Marvel needs to do a better job explaining, you know, those gaps in their multiverse stories. I think everyone really wanted the classic version updated. Some were saying that the modern version is a little too small. I disagree with that. Now, I read the comic this past weekend as a refresher. To me, the size is basically the same as the 295, the classic version. A lot of times artists, they like to draw from a low perspective angle to make these bigger, massive size characters look larger than life, but I like to pay attention to the head-on frontal perspectives, and I can tell you that a lot of those characters, they meet up to the sternum. And kind of my fault for not showing the in-hand images, or on-hand images, I should say. I only showed the promo images when I was doing my recap, because I didn't show the on-hand images where it compared the Baf size to the other, like, regular size figures, and they all come up to the sternum. So it's the same as, like, in the comics. So no, he is not undersized. In the comics, they still kept him as, like, the Son of Apocalypse and all that. But anyway, let's take a closer look at this figure. Enough rambling. Now, they did something really cool here with the head area, this flip over dome apparatus thing, whatever you want to call it. You can flip it over and it exposes the skull underneath. For you longtime Marvel Legends collectors, you're probably aware about the issues that came with this. The hinge would easily snap off. So as you can see, yeah, mine suffered that same issue. So I just let it sit there, you know. Never even bothered to fix it. So it just stands there, and let me tell you, this Baf goes for a lot of money. At least the last time I checked, it was going for like $250. So the fact that there's an update coming, whether you're a fan of the modern or not, I mean, it's still a good opportunity to get the Nemesis character. Even though technically they're not the same. Whatever. I'm not going to get into it. You know what I mean? And technically also, that modern Nemesis is not really named the Nemesis. His name is Genocide. So, forgot to mention that too. It's weird. It's like the same character, but at the same time, it's not. Whatever, man. This is beautifully done. You know, even though it was in the dark days, there was still some things that shined bright in the dark days, and I feel like this was one of them. Even though that whole wave was rough, I got it. I remember just randomly going to Walmart, running errands, ran into the toy aisle, and boom, there it was, the wave. And let me tell you, oh, that wave was rough. It consisted of 8 figures, I want to say, 6 figures. This was definitely the best figure in the wave. And I would have loved to have seen an update to this, because there's just some things here that look so nice that I know they would have topped tenfold if they did an update to this. So you get basically an all translucent figure with these painted over crackles, and it just looks really nice. It just makes the crackle paint job stand out more. And with the dome, the skull underneath, it just gives it this nice radiant color palette. Like, that's what you want out of a Nemesis figure, and it just looks so good. Man, it would have been so nice to have an update of the classic 90s version. I'm probably not going to shut up about that. This is my third time bringing that up. My bad, y'all. But I feel like they did a great job here. From translating the comics into figure form, you know, I remember him having these very, like, squared out, almost metal plate abs. And it looks really good. I think it looks really, really good. What they did with the dome here, I like, because you can take off the skull. And this was some pretty gruesome sculpt work here, man. All right, look at that. All the cracks there, like the yellow paint on the inside. It's not that bad. Not that bad. Closer look at those crackle effects. I like the big wide shoulder pads right there. You know, honestly, all they had to do was just get rid of these ugly bald hip joints and it would still make for a good looking figure, because the aesthetics are all there. You know, they are all there. I feel like they nailed the proportions. Honestly, they really did. When you measure this guy up, he's about 7.5 inches. So he's not that bad in height. If I took a regular sized AOA character, should be, you know, up to the sternum here. So he should technically be that, like, this tall. Like, I love this hand cannon here, man. And I love how they sculpted the circular bits right here. You got some nice, like, ridges right there. And overall, man, it just looks pretty damn good. And for the articulation, I gotta remind myself how it was. I mean, for a big figure, it wasn't that bad, but well, this is broken, so normally this would hinge up and down. But the skull part right here, you can just remove it, and it does have a disc hinge, so you can move it that far up and that far down and turn it left and right. So if you did want to change up the pose where he's looking off to the side, you know, you can do that and put the dome piece back on. So I thought that was brilliant, you know, so that way he's not always looking straight forward. But I'm going to remove this piece because I'm going to articulate the rest of the figure. But his arms move up about that high. Oh, crap. What the hell just happened? Figure showing his age. Let me pop that back on. And his arm moves slightly higher than a straight T-pose. This piece I was always worried about, like, snapping, because it's like this hard, thin plastic. So I didn't want to move the arm too far up, but it does move down, you know, up and down. You can swing the arm like that. You got the bicep swivel here. He does have the elbow swivel and hinge combination right there. No wrist swivel, obviously, because that's a cannon, but you get it right here with the normal hand and a traditional hinge. And for the torso, well, you already saw it was on a ball joint. So because it's on a proper ball joint, look at that. He can crunch forward more. This is what happens when you do a proper ball joint. And again, he's a big figure, so it can move that far back. Look at that. When Hasbro does a proper ball joint, you get more range. See that? Look at that pivot. Look at that. All around, it's just a better overall movement. That was pretty impressive. You know, they did some stuff in the Dark Days that when I look back at it now, I'm like, huh, how come they don't do that? Like, Danger, I remember she had those kind of rotating butterfly joints that you don't see, that are very, like, import style. So that was nice to see. The legs are on that ball joint, so they could kick that far up and kick that far back. He can get somewhat of a split right there. And then you get the knees, or actually thigh swivel, right there. And then you get the knee swivel here with a single hinge. Not bad, but the ankles were the worst thing. It was just a hinge and a swivel, no pivot. So yeah, that was honestly the only thing holding this figure back was besides the QC issue of the dome, was the ankle pivot. And that's it. Alright, I'm about to wrap it up here. So this Nemesis wave back in 2008 consisted of 6 figures, as I mentioned earlier. You had Astonishing X-Men Beast, Black Bolt, Yellow Daredevil, Nova, Camel Punisher, and Tigra. And now Nemesis, who all have been pretty much updated since then. We just need a new Astonishing X-Men Beast badly. And we need another new update for Black Bolt on that new Punisher War Journal buck with the added double diaphragm joint. One thing I did like about that Black Bolt was a fabric cape, as the last one was sculpted hard plastic that just hindered his movements. I think this Nemesis figure was fun to look back at. Some parts that could have gotten a nice upgrade if they stuck with a classic update. It's odd they went with a modern look just because they've already established the 295 era of AOA. Here they go again, now mixing the wrong eras. Hey, I already said the new figure was great. Not changing my mind on that, as I'd go with the better looking figure. I just hate when they do this whole mixing era thing, especially since you already have an Earth 295 Gambit in the wave. Hasbro, you gotta stay consistent, as this is the version people wanted updated most. Do you guys feel the same way about mixing eras? Would you still add the new one to your AOA display regardless? Don't blame me if you do, if you only care about having the better articulation and better looking figure overall. I'm making the exception for that to replace him on my shelf, which is normally a rule I don't break when it comes to mixing, whether it's different eras, mixing movies with comics or video games, etc., etc. It's just a really awesome looking figure. It's kind of hard for me not to replace the old one with this new one because, again, it just looks so damn good. I'm still a fan of the old one. Yeah, it has its flaws, but there's so many good takeaways from this figure. They nailed the translucency and radiant glow, the paint apps, mostly everything about the articulation besides the hips and ankles. The proportions were spot on, but it needed a lot more girth at the waist area. Something I think they would have gotten right with the proportions to be an exact match this time around with a classic update. Doing a modern version doesn't give me hope for an updated classic one. Unless they do that separately as a deluxe so they don't have the same version done as a Baf twice. I can see that being the reason. That's the only reasoning I can think of. Anyways, I think this is still a top 10 best figure during the dark days, and I still love having this on my AOA shelf as he just has the right pop on my display. After all these years, he's still a standout, even next to all the figures during this new modern Hasbro era, which are a million times better than those of the dark days. I'll say it over and over again, guys, it could be so much worse. And because he stands out like that says enough in itself. Now I kick it back to you. What do you still think of this older Nemesis Baf compared to the newer one? If you are a huge AOA fan like me, is the new one still something you want? Or do you prefer to hold out hope to see if they do indeed update the classic AOA version? Comment below, let me know, we'll chat about it. Thanks for watching another Marvel Legends video. Please leave a like on the video to help show your support for my channel. I greatly appreciate it. And follow me on Instagram if you haven't already at xman87. Hit the notification bell so you always know when my latest videos are up. Share and subscribe if you're new. See you on the next video. Peace, peace.